Thank you for joining today's webinar, Engaging Stakeholders with ArcGIS. This webinar is part of the GeoConnects webinar series for these two industries. My name is Tom Coolidge, and I'm Esri's Pipeline and Gas Utility Industry Manager. As today's webinar facilitator, and on behalf of all of my colleagues, I hope you'll find our time together today to be interesting, informative, and helpful to you and to your organization. I'd like to introduce two colleagues. Joining me today is Giovanni. He is an account manager on Esri's Utilities and Telecommunications team. Gio account manages a number of utilities and telecommunications companies. This month, Gio celebrates his third anniversary at Esri. Gio earned his bachelor's degree in geography from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Prior to joining Esri, Gio held a number of roles in the GIS field with various firms. Also joining me today is Matt Baber. He's a solution engineer on Esri's Utilities and Telecommunications team, focused on gas utilities. This month, Matt also celebrates his third anniversary at Esri. Before joining Esri, Matt worked at the University of North Carolina Charlotte Urban Institute. He earned his master's degree in geography from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte and his bachelor's degree in geography from Georgia Southern University. The 2018 GeoConnects webinar series has been put together to give you a more complete understanding of how a modern GIS platform can be used within utility and telecommunications companies. In March, the series began with a webinar on the complete GIS platform. Then a second webinar looked at data management. That was followed by a webinar on monitoring. Today, our focus is external stakeholder engagement. This is really providing information products such as coverage maps, outage maps, and visibility into operations in the network, and delivering those and other maps to all stakeholders external to your company. In July, the GeoConnects community will gather at the Esri User Conference in San Diego. We'll be taking a brief break from webinars in the summer. The fall portion of our series kicks off September 12th with a look at field mobility. With such a large proportion of staff and contractors working in the field, assuring they can readily access real-time network information is increasingly important. Access to current, needed information on any device, anytime, anywhere is critical for a well-performing field workforce. We'll be closing out the webinar series with a look at analytics on October 10th. Analytics provides the insights that are essential to understanding what is going on in your network and to enable better management and operation of the networks. If you can't make any of these particular webinars, don't worry. They're all recorded and the links will be shared with registrants. So don't forget to register to make sure you get the links, even if you can't attend the actual webinar itself. In November, the GeoConnects community will gather again at the GeoConnects conference in Dallas. Here's a brief overview of today's agenda. First, we'll look at the value of external stakeholder engagement in electric, gas, and telecommunications companies. Then we'll be looking at use cases and case studies in all three types of companies. After that, we'll focus on how you can get started in improving your external stakeholder engagement. As you may recall from the first webinar in this year's series, Esri offers a complete modern GIS platform. ArcGIS can be thought of as a system of systems, including a system of engagement, providing capabilities for sharing and collaboration, a system of record, providing data and capabilities for data management, a system of insight, providing capabilities for analytics, a system of IoT, providing capabilities to consume in real time data from sensor networks, and a system for developers, providing software development kits, application, programming interfaces, and other tools enabling you to create additional functionality, extending that already available in the platform. And for this webinar, we will be focusing on a common pattern of use for the GIS system of engagement, which is external stakeholder engagement, communicating and collaborating with citizens and external communities of interest. The ArcGIS platform provides extensive capabilities to help you meet this pattern of use. External stakeholders is a general term that applies to a number of different groups. These include customers, regulators, investors, local government agencies and officials, the community at large, first responders, and others. Each plays an important role for market or regulatory purposes in the business success of electric, gas, and telecommunications companies. Understanding the needs and expectations of external stakeholders is increasingly important. Meeting those needs and expectations also is increasingly important, and when done best, frequently involves a map. There's a very real reason for that, one undoubtedly obvious to GIS professionals, which includes most everyone I suspect participating today. Some information is best conveyed and best understood spatially. Today's webinar is intended to share the clear trend we are seeing among our extensive user community and to share a number of solutions that are making a positive difference in this essential area. Our hope is that as we proceed through today's demos, you'll see one or more that can be readily adapted to your situation. Here are 2 poll questions we'd like you to answer to provide context to the demos that will follow. The two questions may sound similar, but they are different. The first question looks at the state of your stakeholder engagement overall, using all of the technologies available to you. The second zeroes in on how you're using GIS today in support of your organization's stakeholder engagement activity. So here is the first poll question. Which of the following types of stakeholder engagement is your organization doing today? And you'll see 5 possibilities. Select all those that apply. The 5 are sharing service availability, sharing construction or project status, sharing service or outage status, allowing customers to provide feedback, and sharing information with contractors or regulators. So if you haven't already selected those which are appropriate for you, please go ahead and do that now. A fair number of you have already voted, but the votes are still coming in. So we'll give it just a little bit more time, a few more seconds perhaps. About 60% of you have voted now. Seems to be slowing down. So we'll go ahead and close the poll, and I'll share the results with you. As you can see, actually it's reasonably close. About 63% are sharing information with contractors or regulators. Looks like the second highest is sharing construction or project status, ahead 58%. Third close to that, sharing service availability at 55%. So you can see a pretty clear pattern of all of the kinds of stakeholder engagement that you are using. So we'll go ahead and let's launch the second one, which again applies only to the kinds of stakeholder engagement you're doing today with GIS. So if you'd go ahead again, please, and begin voting on those which are applicable to your organization. Again, there's the same 5 choices: sharing service availability, sharing construction or project status, sharing service or outage status, allowing customers to provide feedback, and sharing information with contractors or regulators. And again, you're voting only on those for which you're using GIS today, not other technologies. This is focused solely on where GIS is supporting your stakeholder engagement. So votes are still coming in. We'll wait here just just a little longer. It looks like things have slowed down, so we'll go ahead and close out the poll. And I'm going to share the results with you. So fairly similar in pattern. The highest vote is for sharing information with contractors or regulators, which had 57%. Sharing construction or project status also had a 50%. And then sharing service availability at 45%. And then it drops off to outage status and even lower than to allowing customers to provide feedback. So thank you for that. That closes out the 2 polls and provides some context for the demos we'll see today. So at this point, please welcome my colleague, Giovanni Solera.
Thank you, Tom. And hello to everyone watching. I'm actually really happy to be doing this webinar, since I feel that this is a topic that offers many low-hanging fruits to take advantage of and to bring great benefits to your organizations. Since we are also dealing with a lot of public-facing data, then it opens up the availability for many of you to take advantage of the cloud or software as a service solutions without any data security hurdles. I'm sure most of you on the webinar have experienced getting projects and solutions approved by your security teams and how that can sometimes create roadblocks. Like Tom mentioned, stakeholder engagements with GIS, whether external or internal, can provide value and benefits through communication, collaboration, awareness, and data gathering. Therefore, we want to share our experience and insight into those benefits and into what we see some of your peers doing with GIS and stakeholder engagement. If you see value in these examples, then we really hope that you will borrow and take these ideas back to your organizations. So first, let's cover electric utilities, and whom, like previously covered in our IoT and real-time webinar, are using complete GIS platforms to integrate multiple inputs to analyze and visualize and present and share those results to provide situational awareness. A common example of that would be integrating outage management systems with GIS to create public-facing outage maps. But it would probably be a safe bet to say that most electric utilities on this webinar are aware or already have a public-facing outage map. And that's why we wanted to highlight other stakeholder engagement maps that you might not already be aware of, such as the one displayed on these slides. But let's talk solar for a moment. Solar is one of the most important factors that is and will be affecting electric utilities. It's even affecting regulation. Just take a look at California's new requirements for new homes to have solar power. And this is not only affecting US industries, it's impacting utilities around the world. Therefore, it behooves the utilities to provide tools to help customers know where there's solar availability and where there is, and then also help utilities predict and know where solar might affect the electric network. Now, GIS can do that. It can be used to estimate solar roof space, electric usage, and be used to see or predict impacts on the network based on the location of those solar assets. And this is exactly what our customers are doing, which you will be able to see in a bit. All right, so let's take a tour around the world and check out what some actual customers have been doing with GIS for stakeholder engagements. What we're looking at is a story map with many different examples of some of the great work that our customers have done around the globe. We can zoom in and select different customers and see what they're doing. So like previously mentioned, solar isn't just big in the US. It's also impacting utilities around the world, like Dubai Electricity and Water Authority. With the rapid urban growth in Dubai, the utility was in need of supporting sustainable development, but analyzing potential solar projects took too long. So using their GIS platform, Dubai Electricity and Water Authority calculated potential solar availability for every roof in Dubai and shared those results through an interactive web application. It turned weeks of calculations into seconds and increase the adoption of solar power in Dubai. This directly ties into the next example at Green Mountain Power. More and more utilities are having to embrace not only solar, but also battery storage and small turbines, thus making distributed energy maps important for internal resources, customers, and other companies, so that they can see where good locations are for distributed energy resources. Green Mountain Power's web map shows circuit ratings for new distributed generation interconnections that they can share with the public, thus proactively informing their stakeholders where growth would be a good idea. Now, some utilities or organizations offer or contribute to payment assistance programs like at CoServe. And at times, those programs are assigned or offered to just certain geographic boundaries. So being able to provide the correct information to customers based on their locations can go a long way to helping those individuals. CoServe's story map shows customers who they should, it shows them who they should contact and which organizations or programs apply to them through an easy and interactive story map, truly making a difference in their customer experience. Another practical application is tree trimming schedules, like at BGE in Baltimore. Many people get paper slips on their doors, informing them of tree trimming schedules, but it doesn't always ensure that they're being informed or kept up to date. That's where GIS comes into play. Tree trimming maps and alerts based on geographic boundaries can be created so that customers receive text messages, emails, and interactive web maps that not only allow them to see where those tree trimming activities are occurring, but also stay up to date with the progress of the work. BGE has an interactive map which is simply embedded in their website and easily allows customers to search their address or simply look at the map to get the information and time frame that they need. Simple as that. Let's travel from the East Coast to the Southwest of the nation, to sunny and hot Arizona, where APS has an awesome outage map. Their view is through a cloud solution that allows for large scalability of the map to ensure that customers quickly have the information that they need during the most important times, such as through natural disasters or unexpected emergencies. Now, keep in mind that these stakeholder maps can also be used to increase safety for both external or internal resources, such as down lines or broken poles. Therefore, they don't just have to be about customer outages. Let's also keep in mind that stakeholder engagement doesn't have to just be about presenting information to your customers or members. It's also about being able to communicate with them and hearing their input or allowing them to communicate with others. So far, we have seen some incredible work from current utilities and customers. But let's also think of the future and how we can borrow ideas from other organizations or industries. One great example of borrowing from other industries and having this two-way communication would be through a reporting or adapt an asset program, like the city of New Orleans has done with their Adopt a Catchment program. But let's think of ways that we can plug that into our electric utilities. But before we go into that a little bit, I'd like to go back to APS, because even though we said, we wouldn't concentrate just specifically on outages, we also wanted to point out that these are incredibly important and these are some of the most popular and will bring great benefit. But kind of going back to the topic of New Orleans and what they have done, but let's think of ways how we can borrow from that and we can plug that into our electric utilities through such programs as an Adopt a Streetlight application or map. This way, customers can inform us and other customers of streetlight issues that might have been missed. This can impact utilities that have compliance SLAs or build municipalities for their streetlights, along with helping reduce multiple accidental truck rollouts for the same issues. While we're on this topic, I would like to turn it over to my good friend, old college classmate, who, by the way, wishes his GPA would have been as good as mine, and and colleague, Matt Baber. He's going to demonstrate what an adopt an asset application might look like for an electric utility.
Thanks, Giovanni. You and I have much different memories of college. So what I've got here is an example of a configuration of our Adopt a web app that is downloadable from our solutions page, solutions.arcgis.com. So what this allows you to do is take any asset and make it publicly adoptable. Now, what this does for you is it allows for a bit of crowdsourcing of the status of that asset. This is a great way to get the public engaged and to get consistent reporting from the public. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive right in here and start zooming in. And as I get closer to the street view, I'm going to see all of these street lights start popping up. Now, when I open up my legend, this is going to tell me what all these mean. So, okay, all of these are street lights, and the green ones are available to be adopted. The blue ones that have check marks are adopted and working fine. And these other colors mean that they've been adopted, but there's some issues, something that the utility wants to know about. So really, I'm only interested in the things that are close to home, right? So I really just want to zoom right to my street and be shown all of the street lights around me. So I'm going to use the quick search bar here and say, go take me to 38 Nicole Drive, my address. Okay, so I see right in front of my house is a street light. Makes sense, that's always been there since I moved in. I can see my neighbor a couple of streets down has actually already adopted the street light in his yard. I can click on that and I can see that he's named it Patrick's street light and that's adopted and working. I really want to adopt mine. I want to take ownership for it, mainly because it's been flickering the last couple of nights and that's pretty annoying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the adoptive form, and so I'm going to take this off the market so nobody else can adopt it. And I'm going to say the first question is, please select the status of this street light. Okay, it's working, but it has issues. That's the whole reason I'm doing this. Do you want to adopt the street light? Absolutely sure do. Do you want to name your street light? Well, yeah, my neighbor named his Patrick street light, so this is going to be Matt's street light because I'm very creative. Next is please enter any special notes about the street light. Well, the whole reason I came here is this flickering problem, so light flickers. And the last thing is, would you like to be contacted? If so, enter your email. Yes, I do want to be contacted because I want to know what you're going to do about this. So I enter my email, I save this form, and I'm immediately going to see that my green available street light in front of my house is going to turn to this orange exclamation point. And so now I know that my utility is aware of this issue, but let's take a moment and break this down. What did we just do? Well, I've seen a lot of different ways that utilities collect information like this, not just streetlights, but also like reporting things like issues with the network or such. And it's these text forms on their website, which are perfectly fine, but having a map as that common interface really adds a next level to the communication. Because not only am I alerting the utility of a problem asset, I'm really dialing into exactly where it is, because that's what matters to me, or the things that are close to me, the streetlight in front of my house. And not just can I see that and report on it, but I can see all of my neighbors and see them, taking action, really taking responsibility for these assets that affect our community. Because a flickering street light or a street light that is out really affects everybody on that street, right? So this is a great way to engage with the utility. So immediately, what does the utility have? What do they gain from this? Well, this is still using the common data, the streetlight GIS data, and they're just sharing out a very limited view. So I don't see all the asset information. I don't see the pole number or the asset ID or any of these things. I'm just seeing a very limited form that allows me to answer a few quick questions and say, hey, did you know this thing is flickering? By the way, my email is mbaber@esri.com. So, they can take the next step and email me right away and say, hey, Matt, thank you so much for participating in our Adopt a Streetlight program. We really appreciate it. Thanks for stepping up. By the way, we know that the streetlight is flickering, that we know that stinks. We'll let you know that we're going to have a truck out there on Friday and we're going to get that handled for you. And then I know that not only am I communicating with my utility, but I'm being heard, that they know that there's an issue here and they have a plan because they've reached out to me to take next steps. So it's really that two-way communication. All right, so with that, I'm going to give it back over to you, Giovanni.
Thank you, Matt, for that demo. I hope that this got everyone's creative juices flowing and not just about applying these solutions to the electric industry, but also to the gas and telecom space. Let's move on and chat about gas utilities to share with you how we see stakeholder engagement being played out in these industries or in this industry. For the most part, the common denominator that we see is outage maps, gas main replacement projects, and construction progress and updates. Best of all is that we actually have some customer examples as well that we can show you. So let's hop back to the map and continue our tour to Texas, the Lone Star State. There, we're going to find Atmos, who provides a mapping application for customers of Northwest Dallas that informs them of gas outages and the outage status. Just like the electric utilities, gas companies experience outages and therefore outage maps are always needed. Gas outage maps keep customers informed, helps reduce the amount of calls and inquiries that are made to the utility, therefore reducing the amount of pressure on your workforce, and can also provide useful information like estimated restoration times that set expectations and improve customer experience. So let's hop now over to the Windy City in Chicago and check out what Peoples Gas is doing with project maps. Be aware though that when conducting capital projects or just having regular maintenance, it's not only helpful for the customers to be informed of where those are occurring and the status of those projects, it's also helpful to city departments like Public Works and other utilities who can benefit greatly from these maps, especially to better coordinate their efforts. It may seem unlikely to some, but it happens more often than expected, where the city will tear up and repave a part of the road or sidewalk just for another utility or a gas company to come back a short while later and then tear up that same part of the street all over again, or vice versa. Therefore, if utilities and governments can communicate more effectively, then it can have great benefits, not only to the utilities and the government agencies, but also to the customers. And since location is central to all these things, it's kind of a no-brainer to have an intuitive map application to be that liaison between those different organizations. So once again, I'm going to pass the baton on to Matt, who's going to walk us through a cool story map. Thank you.
Thanks, Giovanni. So a story map is a great way to combine several different types of media and present that content to a broad audience. This includes things like photos, videos, and of course maps. These story maps are quick and easy to configure, and with just a few clicks can be made publicly available. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how to do that later on. Here, we've configured a story map to alert the public to ongoing construction projects, as well as to explain why this annoying construction is going on. We have seen utilities use story maps for a lot of really great things, but haven't seen anyone use it for the construction projects yet. So this is an example of what that might look like. So what we have here is a gas utility that wants to share out the location and dates of their construction projects, but also take that next step and kind of tell and educate the public about why these things are going on. So we just made this very quick demonstration, and front and center, the first thing you see when you pull open this story map are the faces behind the work, the men and women that come together to make these projects possible, really humanizing the utility. And as you continue to scroll through this, well, the next step is explaining, like, we know that construction is a hassle, that when you need to get to work on time and your usual route is closed, that it can be a little bit of annoying, and we understand that. But we're doing it really for you. We're doing it to make a more reliable network. We're doing it to, overall lower the costs in the long run. We're putting more sustainable and longer lasting materials in the ground that will lower our operations cost, and we can pass that savings on to you. So that's really why we're doing it. And you know what? We know why you're here. So the last thing is, here are all of the projects. These are the things that you care about, and it's a common medium. This map is something everybody understands. They know, at a glance at their city. Most people know approximately where they live, so they can just glance at this and say, okay, this one will affect me, this one won't. They can click on these and say, okay, this project's going to start on this date and end on this one. So during that time, I need to plan for a new route when I'm going to work or when I'm dropping kids off at school, or just getting groceries, living my day-to-day life. So a story map is really a very easy way to combine a lot of material and give almost a quick presentation that covers a long range of things. I used a graphic to kind of humanize our utility. I used some text to update the public onto, why are we doing these construction projects? I know it's annoying, but why we're not doing these for fun. We're doing these really because we want to provide a better service to you. And then finally, we end on the map, the common medium, the real connector between the utility and the public is, this is where we're going to be doing work. This is when we're going to be doing it. And it's really that way that everybody understands a map. Everybody can look at it and see it and understand where they are proximate to it and how it's going to affect them. So thanks, Gio. I'm going to let you take back over now.
Thanks, Matt. And I have to say, I'm a huge fan of story maps because it reimagines what GIS is and how it can be applied, because it's not just a static map like most people think of GIS and geography and maps. It goes beyond that to actually tell a story, kind of what the title implies, a story map. So thanks. But last and certainly not least, let's jump into stakeholder engagements among telecommunications. Within this space, the obvious ones are coverage, broadband, and service availability maps. With today's millennials and younger generations, and I have to admit I'll probably be part of that, being connected to the internet is almost a matter of life and death, or at least it seems that way to us sometimes. And I have to admit that the first thing that I did recently when I moved was to look for an internet and cable provider. But to my dismay, most telecom companies in my area did not have a simple service availability map to see if they could provide me with services. So if we can provide something quick and easy for customers to use, then it reduces the amount of calls or just simple questions, like in my case, and also improves customer satisfactions. Because I have to say that from my personal experience, it was very frustrating to just go out of my way and call these different providers just to answer a simple question like that. Nobody wants to go through that. So also another benefit of these maps is also collecting the queries and data that is being submitted through these maps and applications. If you can see that you're getting multiple service inquiries into a specific geographic area where your company or organization doesn't provide those services, then that's a key indicator that it's a potential area to expand your service or your fiber network, therefore resulting in smart and strategic growth. So to end our world stakeholder engagement tour, let's jump back to our story map. And now let's go and check out TDS. Similar to my dilemma when I moved, TDS provides a service lookup application that allows potential customers to see what services are available in the area, therefore making it simple for the customer to get the information that they need. Now, just like gas and electric utilities, telecoms also experience outages and network issues. And like those industries, customers are asking for easier and faster and more self-service tools to either check if there are network issues or report them. One example is Sussex County in Delaware. Through the Sussex County website, customers can now report broadband issues through an interactive web map and forms, thus letting their customers know that you really care about improving their services, and also notifying you where there may be needs for improvement. Now, knowing the progress of construction projects and maintenance is also good for customers to be aware of, just like in the electric and gas industries. It reduces the amount of calls, just like in those other industries, and drives expectations for customers waiting on those projects or services. ATMC is such an example. ATMC offers an interactive web application that provides customers with the status of their FTTH build-out, letting prospects know if service is available in their residence. So as Matt has shown you, you can click on an actual parcel or home and see if their service would be available, or if it's still in the process of being built. Now let's take a large leap above the Atlantic and go to Germany. Like the classic coverage maps wars that you see on some US commercials, telecoms like Vodafone provide a coverage map for their mobile service, letting their customers know what kind of service or connectivity they should expect based on their location. Now, I'll let Matt actually hop back into the driver's seat and take it from here so he can show us how a reporting issue might work through a web application. Matt?
Thanks, Giovanni. So here we have a configured public-facing survey. Survey 123 is great for quickly creating unique surveys and then serving them out. In this case, openly on a website so that anyone can engage with it. This is useful for things like reporting problems with network quality, but also just allowing people to let you know what's going on in it and shared out to begin collecting information. These sort of forums are common at most utilities, allowing for the public to alert a utility of a specific issue or inquire about services. Here we've set up this smart form to change based on how a user answers certain questions. So as I begin here, the first question is pretty easy, just enter your name. So Matt Baber, aced it. Next one is, would you like to be contacted? If I click no, nothing happens. But if I hit yes, additional questions start to pop up. How would you like to be contacted? Well, I prefer email, so I'm gonna click on that, and now it enters up a email field. As I begin typing in my email here, I'm gonna be prompted that this isn't completed until I put in my domain. There it goes. Now I know that I'm good to continue. And the next, what kind of issue are you experiencing? Well, let's just say that I was driving to work this morning, and right when I got to my office, I was on the phone with my boss letting him know I was running a few minutes late and the call drops. Well, I really want them to know that that wasn't ideal. I didn't appreciate that. So I want to communicate that. So here I found this very simple web form, and I'm going to come in here and say this was a dropped call. And the location of issue, I could type in an address, but I'm just going to have it locate me here, California. And then the location details. Well, what happened? I was in transit. And the comments on the issue, call dropped in car in front of office. And then I'm going to click submit. And I get this nice little thank you. Your report was sent successfully. Appreciate it. Well, now that I've submitted my issue quickly and conveniently, that's not where this ends. Where does this data go? Well, it goes back to the GIS. So here I'm able to analyze all of the incoming individual responses, like the one that I just submitted. So we can take appropriate follow-up to each individual. So that means that when I submit my ticket, I get an email back and it says, hey, Matt, we understand drop calls aren't ideal. Really stinks that it happened to you. We want you to know that we are taking steps to increase our network reliability so that doesn't happen in the future. Great, I feel heard. I know that my issue was not resolved, but they know that there's a problem and they're going to take additional steps to rectify that going forward. So I feel good about that. But here at the GIS level, because all of this is coming back to GIS, I'm also able to analyze patterns in the data in real time and spot trouble spots that can be signs of larger issues with our network. So I know what you're thinking. We've seen so many great customer examples. We have looked at a couple of configurations of out-of-the-box applications for customer engagement, but how do I get started with this? What are the steps that I need to take to make all this happen, for me? Well, I'm going to pop back over here for a second, and we're going to discuss just that. How do you set up and enable for stakeholder engagement? Well, the components of making any public-facing application are twofold. One, you need a portal, either ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. It doesn't matter. They both work the same. And then two, you need an application. Now, whether that's a web map, a web app, or a survey, like the things I've been showing, leveraging these commercial off-the-shelf applications not only makes you more agile with your deployment, but it really cuts down on the time and costs associated with custom application development. So let's take a moment here and walk through the creation of some of those embeddable web maps that we've been looking at today that were placed on public-facing websites. This is a process that used to be all custom code, but now can just be done in a few simple clicks. So let's pop back over real quick to our portal homepage, because what was the first thing I said was it was a part of making any public-facing application? Well, you need a portal. You need a way to manage all of your internal GIS content and then be able to quickly and easily serve that up. So I'm going to dive right in here, and I'm going to open up a blank map page, and this is where it all starts. This is where I curate my content, get it ready to share out. Now, I want to make one of those really cool construction zone public-facing maps that we've been looking at today. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some data to this blank web map, because I want to make it understandable. We need the data. So I'm going to search for projects, because that's what I want to do here. I want to add in my project boundaries. I'm going to add this in, and real easily, because of the portal, that one-stop shop for all your geographic content, found it easily, added it into the map. So now when I click on one of these construction zones, I get all the information that we keep internally about that construction project. Now this is a lot of information that most people aren't interested in, right? They don't want to know the internal name for it or the project number. They're really only interested in where it is, if it's an ongoing project, and when's it going to start and when's it going to end, right? That's what our stakeholders are really interested in, the people that this is going to affect. So how do I make this more desirable to look at? Let's take a look at how I can do that. I'm going to pop back over to the content, and the first step I want to do is I want to configure that pop-up. I'm okay with the colors because that really tells them the status of the project, whether it's postponed or if it's in planning or if it's an active ongoing project. But I really want to take a whack at that pop-up. So I'm going to configure my pop-up here. And here's where I can change all of the contents that I was looking at. All of that information here, that's really just too much. No one's really going to want to look at that. And if they do, it's kind of hard to all take all at once. So I really want a more concise view of things. So I'm going to go and I'm going to make a custom attribute display. Click configure. Now this was something I built earlier, so I'm just going to copy and paste it here. And this is really something that I set up and then said, I just want to copy this and use it later. So it was really easy for me to do. So that's what I want my pop-up to look like. And the second is I want to change the pop-up title. Right now it has the internal name that we associate with the projects. That doesn't really mean anything to our external stakeholders. What we want to do is give it a very generic title that really dictates what it is. And what it is a construction zone. So let's call it just that. Now I'm going to click OK. I'm going to commit my changes. Take a look at what this looks like. Okay, so this looks a lot better, right? So this is a much more restricted view of all that attribute information. It's the same data source, it's just a different way to look at it. So now it just simply says, hey, construction is going to be in this area between this date, and here's the Battle Creek Energy logo, so you know it's coming from a verified source of information on the status of this project. And this is really it. So this is my map. I'm pretty happy with it. It's bare bones. Very simple to understand. It's exactly what I want and a great first step to getting a public-facing map out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this thing. That's the first step to this. And then the second is share. So now here's where everything happens. This is where I check to make sure that I have this made public, and it does. I already had this checked, but if I unchecked it and checked it back, it's going to shoot me a warning saying, hey, you're making this information public. Are you sure you want to do that? Yep, I do. That's the whole reason I'm doing this, right? And then the second thing I want to do down here is embed in website. So this is where all the magic is. This is where all that, what used to be real custom code is now just checkboxes, real simple stuff to do. Here I can change the size and the width. What I really want to do though is I want to add in some really cool widgets into this web map to make it more user friendly. So of course I want to add in a location search like a lot of the maps that we showed today, because ultimately people are interested in the things that are close to home. So I want to give them the ability to search for an address. And the second thing I want to do, maybe I want to put in a legend. So I have these color-coded project boundaries, but they don't mean anything if there's no legend to really understand what those colors mean. So I just checked 2 boxes, and over here in the map preview, I'm seeing things pop up and go away. So it's kind of giving me an idea of what this is going to look like. But really, I just took some what used to be custom widgets and I clicked some checkboxes, and it's just putting it into this application for me, this embeddable web map. So now here, all of this HTML code that I would have had to write myself, including putting in these widgets, is now just something I can one-click copy, and I'm ready to go paste it into our website. And so that's actually something I've already done. I've taken this exact web map, exactly as you see it, and I've put it here into our Battle Creek Energy public-facing website. So if I scroll down here, I'm seeing, okay, here are all the project boundaries exactly as I left them, including with that custom pop-up that I made that really isn't custom. I just kind of configured it. I built it once and said I want to save how this looks, and then I just copied and pasted it in. I did the same exact thing with the actual map itself. And here I have all of those little widgets that I check for boxes. So here's my search widget where I can search addresses. Here's my legend that just pops up when I need it, goes away when I don't. And very easily I can interact with this web map, and I got this up and going here in just minutes. It is exactly that easy to get started with making public-facing web applications, not just maps, but all of the applications that we discussed today. All right, so with that, I'm going to kick it back over to you, Giovanni.
Thank you, Matt. Always appreciate it. I hope everyone was able to notice and see how fast and beneficial web maps could be created and incorporated into your organizations. So if this webinar hit home, or you see how these solutions can be applied into your own organizations, then you might be asking yourself, what's next? We provided a few next step recommendations below. First, we recommend that you visit our solutions page to get further ideas. So different solutions and applications that you can introduce and implement at your organizations. It's a great way to see, what are the solutions and what are the applications that are kind of being used for those solutions. And actually, Esri offers a wide variety of free solution templates that you can take advantage of and configure rather than creating those applications from scratch. So think about it. It would be less maintenance. You would have to, you could roll out those applications faster into the field, thus increasing your ROI, and then reducing the amount of time you take on just updating or maintaining those applications. Second, we also recommend that you visit our marketplace and see what other solutions you can take advantage from our business partners. Now, our business partners provide a ton of additional applications and solutions that you can also take a look at. And then last of all, give us a call. If you want to discuss stakeholder engagements further, or if you have difficulties or additional questions, we can always share tips and tricks or connect you with other customers that might have already done it. And if you just prefer to email us, then you can always email us at geoconnects.info@esri.com. I'll let Tom take it from here, who will go through some of your questions. Thank you, Tom.
Hey, thank you, Gio. And thanks to you too, Matt. We've received a number of questions. Let's take the general ones, just starting at the top. So here's the first question. Are any of your customers doing this in the cloud?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So yes, we're seeing more and more utilities really embrace the cloud pattern of technology deployment. Now, our technology can be deployed any way that you want to, but yeah, we're seeing that a lot more, and some are going as far as hosting absolutely everything in the cloud, including their desktop applications.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Here's a second question. Are you planning for any sessions on this at the user conference?
Do you want to take that one, Giovanni?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I guess, well, first of all, the UC is probably the best place in the world to connect with your peers in the GIS industry. With more than 15,000 attendees pretty much around the world and from across the country, it offers thousands of customer presentations and sessions and content, and you can network and connect with others and see what everyone's doing. So that being said, the best tool you're probably going to have for looking these up and scheduling and finding what is interest to you is going to be the Esri Events app. You can download it for free pretty much from Google Store or Apple Store, just like any other application on your phone. And through the application, you can see and search and schedule sessions. I've been using it every time I've been going to UC, and it's incredibly useful. I can look up the sessions that some of my customers are presenting at, and actually see where those sessions are occurring. If you've ever gone to the UC before, then you know that the convention center is huge, and you can easily get lost or have a hard time finding where those sessions are. So the application is just great for all those things. That would be my best recommendations.
Thanks, Gio. The next question is, can you share any of these links to the case studies? I'm happy to answer that one myself. Yes, we will be sharing those links in the frequently asked questions document, which we'll distribute shortly after today's webinar. So look for that coming your way. The fourth question is, what is the most common application utilities or telecoms are sharing?
Yeah, Tom, I think I can take that one as well. I would have to say the outage map is king. Think about it. No one really thinks about how they get power to their home, or how they're heating their home, or how they're streaming their Netflix. It's not top of mind until they can't do those things. Then it becomes a big deal. And at that point, everyone wants a quick answer. It's funny, just a couple days ago, we were in our office in a conference call, and then boom, suddenly the power went out. And the first thing that we did was get on our phones and look at the outage map for our utility, and see, sure enough, there were outages occurring in our area. So they're not only important during those kind of random days, then they become really crucial during disasters, and so I would say those are probably the most common. And there's actually an Esri free template for outage maps, or an outage map. And we also have like an enterprise, more robust level offering through the cloud, actually, that we can offer customers where we can scale up. So first, I'd recommend that you definitely check out our free template one through our solutions page. And if you need something more robust, or in the cloud, or with things like that, with redundancy and scalability, then I would definitely talk to your Esri reps about those things. But after outages, I would probably say the more common ones are also reporting applications. Things like that are quite common as well. So from my perspective, I think that's what it is.
Thanks, Gio. The next question is, we have one desktop license. Do we have what we need to share a map on your website?
Yeah, I'll take a swing at that one, Tom. I'm probably not the greatest resource on licensing, but I do know that all Esri customers have an ArcGIS Online organization associated with them. So that might be something that not everybody on the call knows. So even if you have a desktop license, you have an ArcGIS Online org as well, with at least one user. So everything that I've done today, you can start get going with today. So all that content that you're curating in desktop, you can start picking and choosing the pieces that you want to publish up, and then once you get it into that portal environment, if you think back to my earlier demonstration, it's the first of the twofold process of getting things out there. It's that place where you have the content live and have it managed and provides the infrastructure that feeds those applications, which is the second part of the process. It's, you choose one or more of these things, and they're the surfaces that allow you to interact with the content managed in the portal. So really all that stuff is available to you, and everything that I've done today is things that you can get rolling with, even if you only have one desktop license.
Hey, thanks, Matt. The next question is, can I make public maps without using the cloud? And we have about 4 minutes remaining, so possible to answer that one?
Yeah, I'll take that. So the answer is absolutely yes. This was something that we discussed, I think, in the first question today. So there's a lot of ways to deploy ArcGIS technology. It's designed to work the way that you work. And what that means is if you want to have everything in the cloud, that extreme part of the spectrum you can, and then the other extreme, if you want to host everything on your internal network and then really choose the individual pieces you want to expose externally, that is also perfectly fine. Both patterns of use case we see all the time, including a mix of the two in a hybrid environment. So the answer is yes, absolutely.
Okay, thanks. That's all the questions we'll have time to answer today. Doing justice to a number of the other questions that came in will take more time than we have remaining. So we'll answer them individually in the days ahead. We appreciate everyone's participation. Please remember that we have a very active GeoConnects community user group for all electric, gas, and telecommunications company users. This community is a great resource for you all year long. The community will meet twice this year, in July at the user conference in San Diego and in November at the GeoConnects conference in Dallas. And we're active in a number of social media channels all year long, including Twitter, LinkedIn, and GeoNet. Thank you again for joining us today. We appreciate it. Have a great day.